Hi, Lynn Kenyon, live in Montana Real Estate and everythingmtrealestate.com. And we're here today with Mike Banks. Mike Banks is a great lender with Opportunity Bank. We're sitting on the shores of the Missouri River in their big fancy offices, and Mike's a great lender, calls you back. Really like working with Mike, and he's going to walk us through today. So understanding, you hear first-time home buyer, you hear NeighborWorks, you hear Montana Board of Housing, rural development, lots of loans for people who are struggling, who maybe have never bought a house before, hence the name first-time home buyer, or some, you want to buy, you need to buy, you're tired of paying rent, but how do you do it without a bag of cash? So you teach these NeighborWorks classes, for example. Walk us through some of these loans if you can, like RD.
Sure. So rural development is a government-sponsored loan through the U.S. Department of Rural Development, and they offer a no down payment product. So they will finance 100% of the appraised value. Their program is income-driven. And so there is an income cap.
So you can't make a certain amount.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And they're for single-family homes. But they're a great product. Typically, you have to be outside of city limits to purchase that. But many of our rural communities in Montana qualify for. Even in the towns of the communities that they're, these small Montana towns qualify for rural development.
So zero down, so it's like a VA loan.
It's similar, yeah.
So do the houses have to be a certain quality, or is it that, are they rigorous on that?
They do have to meet, they have to be safe and sound, single family. Biggest issue is usually peeling paint. And so that's probably the number one condition that has to be addressed. They're similar to FHA and VA in minimum requirements for the home.
Is there a quota by the federal government? I mean, can anybody do it, or is there a certain amount per year that they offer, or is it something?
No, there's not a max amount. It's always available through. A lot of different investors offer the product, and it's backed by the USDA to whatever that lender is going to be with that.
Okay, great. Do rates, I know we can't talk about what rates are, but do rates tend to be lower or similar, or are they the same for an RD loan as other loans?
They tend to be in the same range as FHA and VA rates. All the government-backed loans tend to be in a similar range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So NeighborWorks, can you explain what NeighborWorks is? We're seeing a lot of that in Montana now. What is it specifically, and how does that help our viewer?
Yeah, so NeighborWorks is a national organization, and then each state typically has a NeighborWorks organization at a state level, so NeighborWorks Montana. And then some cities have a city chapter as well, which is in Great Falls. We have NeighborWorks Great Falls, which is kind of a pioneering NeighborWorks office. They've been around a long time, and a lot of other NeighborWorks around the nation have modeled themselves after the NeighborWorks Great Falls office.
So what's involved there? What is it?
So they're a nonprofit organization that offers down payment assistance to first-time home buyers and buyers under a certain income limit. You don't necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer to use their programs.
So similar to RD, but you're not having to be actually in a rural setting necessarily?
Right. You can be in a city, or you don't have to be in a rural setting. They offer down payment assistance loans. Some have a payment and interest rate, and some do not. Some do not have an interest rate or payment, and they are paid when the home is sold, or if they were to refinance down the road.
Help me understand that. You don't have to pay a monthly fee then as a buyer?
So NeighborWorks has a couple different products that they offer, and you can go to nwgf.org is their website where you can get the details on their products, but they do have a deferred second mortgage, which doesn't have a payment, has no interest, and it's secured against the home and can be used for the down payment and closing costs for purchase of a home.
Wow. Are those limited? Is there a quota for those, or are they?
Those programs, at this time, they've not run out of money. They're not utilized as much as maybe they should be. And,
Well, and that's why we're doing this, frankly, so
right.
people, they want in houses and they want to hear some of these, so that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Do you have to take classes? I know there's some,
If you take a first-time home buyer education class, and they give you a certificate, and usually 4 to 8 hours is the length that it takes to the class. You can do it in person or online, and that's the main requirement.
wow. Okay, so Montana Board of Housing, MBOH, when you see that is what? How does that differ? What's that look like for a
Sure.
buyer?
Montana Housing offers a first mortgage product and a down payment assistance product as well, and they also cater to the first-time home buyer, unless you're in a designated area where you do not have to be a first-time home buyer to use their loan, like Great Falls. You can this can be a subsequent purchase, and you can use their program.
More than once then, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
what does
they
that
offer
look like?
VA, FHA, rural development, conventional loans, similar to all those same products, but they will typically offer a lower interest rate than the market average. And again, Montana Housing's website
Can
will
walk
show
you
those
through that.
rates.
Sure. What about down payment? Did you say
And
on
they
that one?
offer several down payment assistance loans similar to NeighborWorks, where it's they have one that has no payment, 0 interest, and then they have one that has a payment, and it's just a second loan that it's approved to be used for down payment and closing costs.
So is that a nonprofit, or what do
Montana
they?
Housing's a nonprofit run through. It's a state agency, actually, so it actually is through Montana Housing, and they are part of the state of Montana system.
Okay.
Another program is called Home Start, which is through Federal Home Loan Bank, and they do have an allotted amount of money that they allow different partner banks to use every year. It's an income-based program, and they will give $7,500, and it is similar to a grant where there's no payment, no interest. After 5 years, it's forgiven. And if you are Native American, they also offer the Native American Housing Initiative program, and they will give you $15,000. Again, it's called a deed restriction, so it's placed on the home, but after 5 years, it's forgiven, and it's $15,000. No payment, no interest. Can be used for down payment and closing costs.
So the one thing we haven't talked about with these is credit. How is that going to impact? I mean, without giving figures,
Sure.
High, low, medium, are they rigorous about that? Are they concerned about a credit score for a buyer?
Yeah, they will look at credit scores. They want to see a good payment history, but past credit issues don't necessarily disqualify you, and especially if you've reestablished your credit through on-time payments and
Good trends.
yes, but if you've had a bankruptcy or foreclosure in the past, that doesn't disqualify you from
That's
buying a
amazing.
house.
That's crazy. So there you go. So if you've wanted to buy a house, tried to figure out, you've heard some of these, you've never really understood them, you never talked to somebody, you facilitate all these loans then? You can work
We
with,
do.
opportunity can come, okay? Call your favorite lender, call our favorite lender, one of them, and this can get you in. Mike Banks, Opportunity Bank. So you have some solutions. If you've been thinking about it, live in Montana, we'd love to help you get into a home. And thank you for joining us. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
thanks,
the
Lynn.
information.